Proud supporters of Africa this week. Engine, with us, you are number one.
In this edition, we talk trade and investment reports and opportunities across Southern Africa and Eastern Europe, as well as corporate bonds and the health of corporate Nigeria. The International Entrepreneurship and Investment Conference got underway in South Africa's province of KwaZulu Natal this week. The event showcases investment opportunities in the KwaZulu Natal province and the SADC region, while also promoting the culture of entrepreneurship. CNBC Africa's Bronwyn Nielsen spoke to Dr. Zweli Mkhize, Premier of the province of KwaZulu Natal.
We need to acknowledge that there are a number of strengths that our economy have in the country, and therefore we need to be able to go out and create partnerships with potential investors who can base themselves on the strength of the South African economy and use that to expand into the African continent, and thereby growing the economy of the different parts of the African continent. We're saying, therefore, if we look around at the potential that Africa has, we can actually get a lot of investors who can come in, take advantage of our resources, and therefore use the basis that we've got and grow the technical capacity from within the continent, and then add value on a lot of the commodities that are produced in the country, in the continent, so that we can actually use that to trade and send to the rest of the other world, partners, trading partners. And this is what I think is important, to use the fact that it's a stable economy. The rest of the continent is now very stable, peaceful, and there's got democratic dispensation. It allows us space now to be able to grow the economy and trade more.
Well, on that issue of trading more, we've been speaking about this for years and years, certainly on news desks, as how we can fast track that trade process between African countries. What is the key to execution on this front?
Well, firstly, I think that we need to start saying that the neighbors must begin to strengthen that linkage, because it's not possible to just talk about trade within African countries without neighbors beginning to strengthen their partnerships, strengthening the logistical and transport links, and also ensuring that the movement between the different countries is easy. And out of that process, once we begin to improve those trade links and begin to go out there and look at what the one country needs and what the one country can provide, and building up trading partnership from that basis, I think that's a start we need to make. We're then saying that in our province, we've got the biggest ports, we've got the even the trade ports. We are available to actually use this for the advantage of the rest of the Southern African.
Still at the International Entrepreneurship and Investment Conference, CNBC Africa's Bronwyn Nielsen spoke to Carol Kutsia, Head of Department at the Department of Economic Development and Tourism in the province of KwaZulu Natal.
Investment promotion is really about how do we sell ourselves? How do we sell ourselves to a potential investor and convince them that this is the place to invest? We've done a lot of work and research about targeting the right countries, because we can't just go to every single country and compete with others. We need to know what is our comparative edge that we have. So we've identified specific countries that we're wanting to look at, and then we've also looked at what is it that we're taking and selling to them. And as has been spoken about is the issue of logistics. We've got the ports, we've got a new King Shark International Airport. So we've got the basic infrastructure that's required. And there's also, because we've got that linkage to the whole African continent, we believe that that's the selling point, and we need to sell that aggressively.
How aggressively are you selling KZN, and are you marketing aggressively?
Yeah, no, I think we are. I think there is still improvement in terms of how we package the opportunities as such, but certainly in terms of all international platforms that you will find, we are there first and the foremost, and really punting the province for investors to come through.
What is the biggest challenge for KZN to become a recognized player on the African continent?
I think at this stage, everyone knows about Gauteng. They even know about Cape Town, but they're only starting now to understand what Durban is and what it can really offer. And the FIFA World Cup put us on the map. So we need to use that opportunity. Now that everyone knows and they're talking about this Durban, we need to now use that opportunity that puts us now on the level playing field to all the other provinces in the country.
Let's touch on entrepreneurship, the other theme that we are dealing with today. Entrepreneurs in KZN, are they getting a leg up from the KwaZulu Natal government?
We have got a lot of programs that we're running, particularly in our department. We have issues that deal with the challenges that they face around access to market, financing, where we've actually put substantial resources, almost close to about about 900 million rand over the last 3-4 years towards financing SMMEs that really have been struggling to access through the normal financial institutions. We have specific training programs, capacity building, but make no mistake, there are still some challenges around that, but we really are sure that the programs we have in place will deal with the challenge.
New World Bank research shows that a combination of policy barriers are hampering regional trade in both goods and services among southern African countries and calls for a new generation of policy reforms to realize factory Southern Africa. Senior economists from the World Bank unpacked the report to CNBC Africa.
The SADC Free Trade Area was launched in 2008 and under that 85% of intra-SADC trade is now duty-free. But if we compare SADC with other regions of the world, what we notice is that it really fails in two respects. First, in terms of total trade that's traded regionally, only between 10 and 14% of trade within SADC as a proportion of total trade is with other SADC partners. But more crucially, intra-industry trade or trade in parts and components is among the lowest in the world. What this implies is that the realisation of regional production chains in Southern Africa is virtually absent. If we look at successful regions in the world, such as Asia, what we find there is that drivers such as China, South Korea and Japan are using regional trade as part of their global trade strategies.
You know, I think one of the concerns that many people have raised about SADC is cumbersome trade protocols and the fact that there's just too many. You've got, as Mr. Tay was saying earlier on, members of SACU. Then you've got other members of SADC that are also members of COMESA. So nobody's really sure which trade protocol they should be subscribing to.
That's right. I mean, there are overlapping arrangements, and one of the key issues is that many of the country's commitments under those arrangements have not yet been fulfilled. Some of the work that we've done at the World Bank suggests that some of the key policy barriers to increased trade integration at the moment are not tariffs but non-tariff barriers, issues such as export taxes, import bans, permits, quotas, levies, and rules of origin, which also serve to restrict regional trade. Now, much can be done nationally to deal with these issues. It doesn't need to rely on regional agreements such as SADC and SACU. Take a country like Zambia, for example, which has removed many of its non-tariff barriers because it realises that these obstacles don't just adversely impact trade, but also their domestic businesses. We're also supporting the Mauritian government, where they're hoping to set up a non-tariff barrier monitoring mechanism.
Tay, when I mentioned to you earlier on that there were different kinds of economies of varying size, it does create a dilemma for the investor, because what's happening is investors are seeing Southern African countries as individuals rather than as parts of a broader supranational structure. So people come to South Africa because they wanted to be the infrastructure, or to provide the infrastructure and to be a gateway into the region. Then people go to Angola because there's oil and energy and high returns, and then they'll forget about the smaller ones. Is that a real problem?
It is a problem. The problem is that there is a great deal of investment coming into the region. Indeed, by the standards of other regions, the Southern African region as a whole has attracted far more foreign direct investment on a per capita basis. But most of this has gone into resource-rich countries, into mineral mining, basically, and has bypassed the employment-generating sectors such as manufacturing, agriculture and services. So there is a challenge to reallocate some of these investment funds into employment generation activities.
Representatives from Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic and Romania met in Johannesburg this week to discuss trade and investment relations between these emerging Eastern European economies and South Africa.
My main problem as commercial councillor is changing, I would say, perception of Poland and this part of world, because in my opinion, I am here 2 years, so I have made some research. 4 billions of the US dollars turnover is missing. When you look on other countries in our area, because maybe it is good also from the point of promotion that you should recognize potential of Central Europe. So in case we compare Poland to South Africa, in this respect that we are also gate to Eastern Europe, you know, and our, let's say, gross domestic products is about 40% of these countries in this area. So we can even calculate that missing, you know, turnover between our countries and South Africa is $10 billion. In case you recognize that from our part of the world, because of the salaries, prices are more competitive, you can calculate that in case you capitalize on this potential, you can save up to, I think, $2 billion. It is a big amount in comparison of your imports.
Well, the profile of Poland is definitely rising because the US President Barack Obama recently visited Poland, but people are saying it's all for the energy because it's estimated that Poland has about 5.3 trillion cubic meters of shale gas. That's the one thing you have in common with Africa, is that increasingly you're being seen as being part of the energy security solution in the world.
Yes, so we hope that this new, I would say, initiative as regards using this gas deposit, of course it will be not in short time, it has for us strategic dimension because, as you know, we have strong neighbor Russia, who sometimes is using, energy, I would say, platform, to push us into corner, especially during the winter time. Even it may be anecdote, some talks in South Africa had to be postponed because there was crisis as regards securing contracts for gas during the winter time. It is important, not maybe mainly for people, but for our industry, our chemical industry. So having some more independence in this respect is for us of crucial value.